flames, we emerge from the hurt we learned. I was shattered, bruised and torn, left alone to rebuild, reborn. You took my voice, I took the pain, but now I rise, I'm breaking chains. I'm the phoenix rising, can't you see? You can't break me, I'm finally free. I found my fire burning bright. From the ashes I claim my light. I'm the phoenix rising, can't you see?
Phoenix is rising, Coach T here. And remember, your blessings are in your ashes. Let's get into it. This is episode 23, Induced Relationships. Some folks don't take no as an answer, as a complete sentence. They take it as a challenge. Today, we're naming a pattern too many of us are living: induced relationships. When someone manufactures connection you never consented to, then punishes you for not playing along. That's the definition of induced relationships. It's the same thing with when you say narcissists or cluster B personalities induce conversations. So, just to get a little bit more clarity, here's what I mean by induced relationships. It's when a person decides you're together or entitled to you without your consent. They build a story, recruit props, and push until you're reacting. It's not romance, it's control. It's manipulating somebody else's life to go into a direction that they did not intend, God did not intend, but they lusted for it. Common moves, assumed intimacy. We're soulmates. We're already in this. No, we're not. Boundary breaches as tests. Blocking hallways, forced touch, cornering for eye contact, accidental brushes. Attachment via props, puppies, uniforms, convenient errands. Anything to insert themselves into your routine. Retaliation for refusal. Smear campaigns. Stalking. Spiritual psychic intrusions. If you're dealing with a witch or a warlock. And actually, right now, just a little bit about that. Right now, people have so many, it's gang stalking has become so ingrained in the ethers now that you can literally buy people who want to get revenge, or people who want to get revenge on somebody can buy a package. There's a place online it's based off in San Francisco. And there's, when my gang stalking came up, it was Infraguard and this Nefarious Jobs. And it's a real company. They actually were on, if you look them up on YouTube, I forget what the title of that YouTube was, but I was shocked, to find it, that they were just so bold. He was, and I actually saw that. It's a bald black guy who does Nefarious Jobs, or at least has put himself as the spokesperson for Nefarious Jobs. And you can buy a contract. You can pay for a service to get back at somebody. Baby mama, the employer, an individual, whatever. Okay? So that's what I mean by psychic intrusions, because you can employ witches and warlocks to astral project, to body swap, to jump in, or you know what I mean, things of that nature, things that are a little bit more cleaner, and I've talked about that in episodes 21 and 22, I believe, and requested that you guys go see Behind Her Eyes, Hollow Man, Invisible Man, the remake, because that's basically what you're dealing with. And people may have that inkling. And, I talk about these things in the way that I do, being who I am. So, because I had to find out myself, I had to put a name to it myself. And so I'm sharing with you freely what it is that is going on in these spiritual streets. And a lot of people will have been biting off of me. I've been on YouTube for about Jiminy Christmas 5. I started it in 2020, August 2020. So yeah, I think we're going on about 5 years. And you know, it's frustrating when people don't give you credit. So if you can relate, this is why I need you guys to engage. Just so I'm not shadow banned anymore, and so that I can get this out to more people, and I can start going up on, FYPs and things of that nature. So, but I just wanted to say that. So, a retaliation for refusal is they go put you in a smear campaign, they stalk you, spiritual or psychic intrusions, i.e., astral projections or jump-ins or walk-ins trying to negatively influence you, also to monitor you, financial sabotage, public scenes, triangulation theater is the next one. Using third parties, partners, neighbors, kids, to frame you as the problem, right? So, because especially, and I have this happen now since I've done the work on myself and I know who I am and I'm not fawning. My response to trauma is not to fawn. My response is to be calm and, focused. And then when we were out of that danger, we go and we go through a process of triage and breaking it down, right? It's the who, what, when, where, how or why, you know? So, why survivors are targeted. It's not about looks, it's about light. People who with untreated character disturbances, often overlapping with mental health crises, latch onto strength, peace, and purpose, even though they're posing as being, as or want to give off that like they're intimidating and bullying. It's like that bravado kind of stuff. They want the fuel, not the relationship. Okay. And see, here's the thing: a lot of them want somebody that's a central base. When you're dealing with cluster B personalities, they want you as they're looking for home base. They're looking for somebody who can make a home that they can be in, whether they're working or not, right? And they get that source and supply. And if they want more source and supply, and I'm just trigger warning, then they may have kids with you. You see what I'm saying? To keep, and it's these kids not because they like kids, at least in the mature adult way of a father or a mother, but some with narcissists, they're trophies, they're pawns, they're all also another energy source. Okay. So I'll talk to you guys about timelines. Write timeline in the comments to remind you guys, to talk to you guys about timelines and your higher selves. Okay, so that's why they use the kids. Okay, I was one of those in a narcissistic relationship with my father and mother. Um, I think my mom had an inducement because of all the abuse that she suffered as a child, and dad just he had brain damage, changed his whole personality, according to my aunt. So anyway, my lived experiences, short and plain, roommate fantasy. I moved in for stability. She decided we were partners. Telepathic pressure, sexualized hallway tests, meaning that this was a woman who was so bizarre, but she presented, I mean, she mimicked so well what it was like to be somebody that other people would want to hang out with and could knew was going to protect them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But she would ask some of the most childish things. Like one thing that she liked to do, which then let me know that she was a sexual predator, besides the fact that she admitted to um, sexually assaulting violently a mixed Mexican and black 25-year-old because she was mixed black and she was mouthy with her. Because I watch TikTok and there's a lot of mouthy Latinas. So she chose who she was going to beat and abuse. And this is why I stopped dating because of the fetishization in the lesbian community about black women and this mammy or this stud hero kind of archetypes were going on in there, and it's just and besides the fact that it felt like you had to do an application, and like and that was during my time. I think in 2000 it was we were creeping in on it. Was no longer enough just to meet, right? It was people, these women started demanding, like, you have six figures, seven figures, but they weren't coming with it. I mean, this was in the lesbian community now, which mirrors, and the LGBTQ AI community mirrors itself, unfortunately. 90% of it mirrors itself off of heterosexuality. I mean, because we're looking at, okay, this is how a relationship's supposed to go, and whatever, instead of just it being organic and authentic. And so I guess whatever the straights were doing, the gays were like, we're gonna do it better. and and no, you gotta come with more than just a personality and good charm, a job, a car, and a roof over your head. Now you and mental stability. Now you gotta come with money. you know, you gotta come with this much money. So anyway, I digress. But anyway, if the lady, so the sexualized hallway test. The hallway test, it wasn't a test. It was something that every time I would come down the hallway, and if she thought about it, if she could catch me, she would stand in the hallway where she had plenty, but she had plenty because it was a short hallway. Like it was like two, 3 steps depending on how long your strides, right? It was 2 or 3 steps, and all she had to do was move out of the way. She refused, and because right then was the living room, and so it wasn't that we were cramped. She wanted to be cramped. She wanted to be locked in that space with me and was waiting, and I watched her face. The first few times I watched her face, and each time she's like, "Yeah, you," because to her that was, "Oh, you like me. Even though I'm blocking your path, you like me because I rubbed up on you, right?" I mean, this is her reasoning. And I said, "No, you go ahead." And I started saying that every time, and she was pissed off. And she was, well, like, visibly pissed off, like she was gonna do something. And God forbid. And it was God that did forbid it, because there was a time towards the end where she popped off after mouth too much and showed how racist she really was. And she was getting ready to get beat down, and literally it was my guide who was like, "Nope, you're on her turf." And my hand went down. She saw it, I saw it, her demons saw it, my angels were like, "No, you don't get in this one." So she had to ask her counselor why I did not want to be rubbed up on. She literally found it to be offensive that I did not find her attractive, one, and two, that I did not want to rub my body against somebody. You know what I mean? Like, she was a big lady. So you're taking up the whole hall, and you're standing so that I'm going to have to touch you. And I didn't want to do that. And that was for my first time. dealing with somebody who didn't understand common boundaries of humans, but pretended to be there for you see what I'm saying? Like, you have it just I mean, that was when I was like, "Okay, yeah, you're a fraud, and we gotta go." So yeah, that was the first. I've never had that in my life where somebody literally put themselves in harm's way, and I mean, I would always get butterflies in my stomach or, clench up because I don't want you rubbing up on me. And the fact that she had to go and ask, somebody why I didn't want her rubbing her body nasty ass body up on me was bizarre, and I was just like, I think I had my mouth open when she just said it out of the blue. Now, she never would ever talk to me directly. She was always having a conversation with me. Because you see what I'm saying? She was always how in her head, she was always having a conversation of me because she had this fantasy of us being in a relationship, right? Because when you know that you're not that so that there goes the psychosis. That's like you you believe that we're in a relationship, but you're aware enough not to say anything out loud because you don't want to be told no. Okay, I know. Anyway, so let me read it again. Roommate fantasy. So this is my lived examples of what we're talking about here. Roommate fantasy, which was her fantasy about me. I moved in for stability. She decided we were partners automatically. We were in a relationship together, not like in a roommate relationship, but in an intimate partner relationship. So telepathic pressure. She was sexualizing me. Of I would feel her on me at night, especially, like, she would be sleeping with me. She would project herself was sleeping with me. Just weird shit, right? And she was, like, really fantasizing about us having sex and everything, and I was like, "Gross, dude. Like, what are you doing?" And then the hall test I just explained to you guys, and racial contempt. And if it would for her being mixed Latina, mind you, so she wasn't mixed black, she was mixed white and Latina. If I didn't if I didn't, if I didn't submit to her, then it was, "Oh, see, this is why people hate black people," basically, and that's what she would say. "This is why people hate black people." But yet she had 4 different color Obama stamp T-shirts. Make it make sense, okay? When I held boundaries, she escalated, including spitting, reporting me to she had to call the police because she was gonna get the shit kicked out of her. Leaving closed that door for her, right? So, this is another one. The next one is, neighbor baiting. New state, fresh start. One of my neighbors staged was obsessed with me. I don't wanna keep saying obsessed. I could feel him trying to connect with me, right? And one thing that I found with Latinos, it does not matter if they're male or female. If you look at them, you're in a contract with them. And sometimes, if you look at them, sometimes they get there, depending on how emotionally mature or immature they are, they believe that uh, uh, you're trying to intimidate them. You know what I mean? Because they're insecure about something, right? And they make assumptions. Really, I've had a lot of people make assumptions that are just like, "Wow, god dang, you guys," and they don't want to find out the truth. They don't care. They just like, "Oh well, I said what I said, and that's it." Very unhealthy. So new state, fresh start. This guy was kept. He noticed that I was friendly or whatever, and, because I was talking to somebody else, and first saw him behind a vehicle and, working on it or doing whatever. I always saw him just kinda sitting there, but I wasn't really paying attention. I've made it a practice to myself, you don't really give eye contact, right? Just for me because of the safety reasons and what I said. I'm not making a spiritual contract with anybody, right? And because they do get mad. Some people get mad when you don't look at them, and because they know what they're doing. Again, what I'm illustrating here is how people have delusional personality disorder, psychotic personality disorder, um, believe that you are this to them, and they are acting it out to the point where it's disturbing your life, and it's disturbing on multiple levels. One, they're acting it out in their head, expecting you to play a role that they see you in. If they see you in a mammy role, if they see you in a sexual role, if they see, you know what I mean? If all of a sudden that, okay, I'm writing this scene, interior, um, night, apartment, we get into a fight. That's what they're doing. And because I've had them be so mad, and when I say them, I've had multiples. I mean, 3 women and multiple incels. So it's weird to have to say it, but I am. So he would stage chance meetings, or he would stage chance meetings. This guy, this neighbor, and first he did a puppy, and I kept seeing this every time I'd come out, and it's like he would see me or expect me or something, and I don't know how he kept timing. I don't believe in coincidences. And a lot of times that's psychic. People will tap into your energy signature and tether themselves to you. And it's kind of like a soulmate. Well, like like I love my baby girls. So I'm going to know if I'm at work and they're having problems, right? One time I knew that I was at work. I said, I got to get home. I know I was at a farmers markets selling. And I had to go because I just said, I was smelling smoke, right? I had a connection so deep with my fur baby that I knew what she was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see it. Plus, I already have those gifts. And so it enhances with love. So that's what they're trying to do. They're doing it. Some it it doesn't it does it's not so harsh, but they're expecting you not to notice that they can do it. You see? So I know that that's why it's like every time that's the same reason why you get gang stalkers who will hit every corner, you know? They'll hit every corner because they're using supernatural aids to do it. So you go to the left side of the street, there they are again on the left side of the street, you know? I've had shit that's something out of Devil's Advocate happen too when I was at the park. So, and it's because a lot of people, they work witchcraft, and a lot of people don't understand like how much witchcraft is influencing our world. So, one time, and I talked about this in episode 21 and 22, I believe, either one. So go back and check those out if you haven't already, or wait until they post if they haven't posted. By the time I'm doing this, I'm doing a batch here. I get really behind on my podcasts. But I've never stopped coming up with things that I think everybody should know, because I also conduct free sessions on Sharewell, and host that about healing and things of that nature. So I've been just really busy. All right. So he did that with the puppy because of himself, I wasn't paying attention to anything, right? I wasn't even looking at him, right? And that upset him. So he was finding ways just coming out of the blue. So the next thing was an Amazon vest. Okay. He had an Amazon vest on, and we came down. We were coming back to the house, and suddenly he barrels down. Like, I mean, I didn't even know which way the stairs were going because of the way that I didn't, because of the way he descended the stairs. It was absolutely surreal, right? Because it looked like he literally flew from my peripheral. It looked like he just kind of flew out and didn't come down the stairs. And I assumed that he had a bottom apartment, right? And so he flew out of this by the we were we reached a certain point, and we were almost by the playground, and he flew out with his kid, and they both just flew out, and or with a kid. I don't know if it was his kid, because later on he would use kids to harass me until he found out that I had security footage. So, and then he was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna stop now," you know. But anyway, he came out with his Amazon vest and was playing football, and I had made it my thing not to get, again, still not giving eye contact, just in passing. I'm seeing what he's doing, and I just ignored it. And then the spirit had told me, "Hey, look outside again." When I got into the bedroom after giving the babies their treats, and he said, "Look outside." And so I did, and I looked outside the bedroom window, and he was gone. They had stopped playing. You dig it? Like, that's weirdo shit, okay? I disengaged, and every time I disengaged, his agitation rose. And then the last time I go outside, I have an altercation, and this was my fault because I was up at 7:30 in the morning. And so here's what I understood. So there's times where they're wanting again, just like the roommate, her sexualizing me, her imagining that us having sex and I'm me being clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, sentient, you know what I mean, all that. And what they'll do is because they believe it, they're watching. It's you got to tap out of your own body, if that makes sense. Olga was tapped out, which was the first name of the roommate was tapped out of her own body. She couldn't tell fantasy from reality, okay? Because she had done it so much. So when anybody told her no, she didn't like hearing it face to face, so she didn't even bother. She just targeted people, and then she would literally stalk you through the ethers. And so there are many people who know how to do this, and he was one of those, right? Because I would get up. I got up at 7:30. I've never seen we got up at 5. I got up at 5. I was up until 5 and then went out about 6:30, whatever, right? So, and that's the thing too, is like you got to understand people are trying to negatively influence you so that you meet up with them. So that they can, you know what I mean? This telepathic pressure. I'm going to influence you. I'm going to look at your picture, even if they're not astral projecting and jumping into other people's spaces and bodies. They can there's other ways. There's many of other ways of that witches and warlocks use, like you looking at your picture and saying you're going to do this and you're going to do that, right? And if they say it's right, or if they say it long enough, if it starts to affect your subconscious mind, right? Because you're not thinking about what's coming into it. I always think about what's coming into it. Is that me? Is that the Most High? You know, because this is at a higher level, you guys, phoenixes, this is at a higher level to understand what this guy was doing. So when I came out at 7:30, here he goes, he's staging again. Again, when I come out, he's already out before, over at the playground again with the football and the kid. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I'm ignoring him and I'm paying attention to my one of my fur babies, and here his wife comes, or girlfriend, whoever it is, comes from behind me, and it scares my grandbaby, fur baby, and my grand fur baby is very protective, very protective. And she knows who I don't like and she knows who I like. And so she barks. And so she went after them. She came around my legs because we were both waiting for her mom, and she came around and started barking, and I got scared and told the other lady, it's like, "Ugh, why?" I said, "Why the F were you behind me that close?" And then, you know what I mean? Because it's 7:30 in the morning. I got up and literally we went outside. That's what happened. I got up and we went outside. I was getting my energy back. So even though I was wrong, he took that opportunity, had this interaction with his partner, and found out that they lived up on the second story apartments. And you know what I mean? So I reduced contact, but from that point, he was looking for an opening. He was trying to create an opening, right? He was trying to create a cute meet, right? By finding out, that I like pity puppies, that I like da 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 da, and then maybe I'll think that you're a good person because you have a puppy. I've had that happen to me several times. I actually had a guy, I think he was family. That's what we used to say when we met another gay or lesbian. It was just their family. He had a pity, and the pity wanted to see me, and the pity was happy. And, I mean, I came up to him, and then from that point on, he was always standing in front of my door, you know what I mean? In front of my place. It's like it's his But still, it's like, that's kinda weird. And so I decided, it's like, "Okay, I'm tired of this engagement all the time. I don't, because I have my fur babies, and I just wanna get in and go get out. I just wanna get them where they wanna go, get my exercise, and then come back in." And, he hit those corners. Every corner we were at, he hit it. You see? So you always have people, and one thing I've realized with men is, like, you people say, "Oh, this is this loneliness epidemic," and they have devised a way, these incels have devised a way through witchcraft and through, um, astral projection to, so if you say no, it's like they don't give a shit about no. We're still gonna do we're still gonna be in a relationship with you whether you want us to or not. I had to end up not contacting management on him, but kids that he was using. You can always tell the ones who were gang stalkers because they use the same tactics. It's ingrained in them. Many of them have been doing it for, years. So anyway, that was the end of that situation. That stopped it because he was going ham. Like, it was escalating. Because, I mean, we even the thing with the wives, because, and I knew that it was because she didn't know that he had, for 2 weeks, every time I went outside, there he was. Before you knew that I had a security system, I had walked and done a few laps, and I started to feel uncomfortable and uneasy, and here he comes again. He barrels out with the trash or whatever. So this goes back to using routine. Using a routine as as plausible deniability, right? Oh, I was taking out the garbage, right? I wasn't harassing her. I was taking out the garbage, right? But he was trying to break me down, so because then find out that his partner was pregnant. So your partner's pregnant, but you're lusting after somebody who's gay. You've got to know I'm gay, dude. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. So anyway, that was just recently, and it was just absolutely bizarre. When you deal with a narcissist, but you really do your core work, nothing gets past you, not because you're obsessing, but because you realize that most of the people, 90% of the population is toxic. 90% of the population is flipping toxic. So the lesson for me with the neighbor and him baiting was that violence doesn't require intimacy, only access. And he wanted access. So people do not know how to handle their emotions, and their age wise, they're supposed to be adults, right? Age wise, it will be classified as an adult, but intellectually, emotionally, they're more like 3 to 7 years old, you know? And handling it like that, you're being a bully. You're being a bully. You'll find that when you're dealing with cluster B personalities, they get turned on by the fact that you play chess, but they don't realize that they're still playing checkers. Because when you don't have that emotional maturity, that spiritual maturity, maturity is spiritual maturity. When you don't have that maturity, even though you have access to big boy or girl toys, you are still using them like a toddler. And that's the arrogance. That's the delusion. That's the illusion, I guess. That's how that's how they are delusional, by believing, because you can't see me in the ethers. You can't prove it. I don't need to prove it to anybody else. I trust my own intuition. You haven't taken that from me. I trust my intuition. I may not be able to articulate it. It may not be popular now. Talking about narcissists was not popular. Talking about gang stalking was not popular for a long time. Now it's popular. There's always a gatekeeper when people, and then the floodgates open, and now everybody's overdoing it. You dig it? Now talking solely about coercive control, which is the tactics of is a system of used by cluster B personalities to control their targets and to abuse them and to eventually unalive them. Anyway, I think I'm done with that. So, how this overlaps with stalking. Useful frame. Rejected, wants you back or wants revenge, high vitality, resentful, feels wronged and aims to scare you. Intimacy, these are the types of stalking. Intimacy seeking, convinced you're destined, often delusional. Incompetent suitors, socially inept, pushy, won't read cues. Predatory, covert surveillance toward assault, right? People can blend these types. Risk rises when entitlement meets obsession. Dig it? And that's what I'm saying. It rose because he wanted to humble me as a black woman. This was a Latino male wanting to humble me as a black woman. To me, he thought, or he wanted to humiliate me. Difference. So humble means I'm teachable. Humiliate means I want to trash you because I'm not teachable. That's basically it. Okay. So that was so scary for me because he kept doing it. And I passed the vehicle that they were in, their car, and she was telling him, I told you to leave her alone. And she was actually really telling him to leave me alone, but she was arrogant herself. Like, because he was insinuating that I was ugly because I was fat and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't care what you think. I know how I got this way. And I know that, it's my business. It's not your business. The only time somebody is worried about somebody else's weight is because they're repeating or mirroring what happened to them, and they want to see the effects on somebody else, or they're sexually attracted to them. You're calling me all kinds of fat this and fat that, but you want to have that. If I gave you the opportunity, you'd be like, yeah. And I'm not giving anybody that opportunity. And so, one thing I realized too after going through gang stalking and surviving is that, again, this is with men and women in my case. Even though men know that I'm a lesbian, it's like they don't care. I literally had some guy who thought that he could use witchcraft in incel. Who thought that he could use in witchcraft to change my sexual orientation, you know? And to get he would they I mean, the jealousy, imagine this, the jealousy too over me having a fur baby and my fur baby sleeping with me, that becomes somebody that I don't know, that I've just seen and that they have done creepy shit to me. But I don't know you, and you have already positioned yourself as an authority in my life, wanting me to remove anything and everything that I love so you can come in. That's weird. I mean, and we've not been introduced, but I see you in the ethers and what you're doing. I hear the whispers and what you're trying to get my subconscious to absorb and birth out on your behalf. And even though I see that they were still doing it, you know, there was such hatred by these black male incels, and probably anybody who wanted to be in an interracial relationship who feel that black women are too much. And instead of just going and minding your own business, if black women are too much, go to Mexican women, you know? Go to Japanese women, go to Indian women, do something. But you don't but the obsession of not being able to have control over somebody because of they've had to learn, like with me, I had to learn things and nobody wanted to help me, because the reason why a lot of black women don't get help while they're on the ground, on the streets and beyond and anything, is because people are jealous, because they've used this, oh, you think that you're better, or you don't look like, people would always tell me, you don't look like you're homeless. What does homelessness look like? And why would I have to look like I'm homeless? Why would I have to have ratty natty hair? Why, I was already wearing the same clothes over again. You know what I mean? Like, I was already on the embarrassment of being on your cycle and not being able to change anything because you don't have the money to get anything. You understand? So it's a weirdo thing to have people who are making decisions over your life. They've embodied the intentions and MO of satanic forces. Nobody's doing anything to you. So again, you have to know yourself and to have the tools. This means that you can go into any surrounding, any environment, and they can't take you out. This guy took it upon himself to try and take me out. And for just I'm grateful that I saw it clearly, and I'm grateful that I can share it with you guys now. But I'm still like, "Wow, like, you went through all that because he kept getting once he found that the puppy didn't work, him showing me that he worked for Amazon. Because later I found that Amazon vest on the ground. It had rained, it was soaked, you know? I haven't seen him work. I haven't seen him outside since. He was gonna make me his project, you know? So it's amazing the lengths that people with this character disturbance and mental illness will go to just to prove to you, to others, that they are what they are, or what they believe that they are. Whether they can fit that bill or not, but they're hoping on coercive control and the threat of bodily harm will keep people's mouths shut and keep them just playing along. Like, I couldn't believe that the neighbor was doing this right in front of you. I see, that I see that you have a pregnant girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing that, I don't know, he had at least one kid. So the kid that he was playing football with or whatever, throwing the ball with, was not his. It's just some neighbor kid. So that's what's disgusting to me. And I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but what's disgusting to me is when you have people, especially women, who are using kids to harass. I passed a woman this morning, and it's that you're using your kids to harass people. You're using your kids to uh uh get people in trouble by making false accusations. While I was dealing with the succubi, she was really mad because I would not have sex with her. So because I chose to obey God, and I wasn't going to have sex with her anyway. I already knew who my kin was. I'm not settling. And that's exactly what these guys want women who are powerful to do, is they want them to settle. You don't have, you think that you're better than everybody, and but I never even, if understand that you got people who are delusional, who know that they would never have a chance and are projecting outward this fantasy, this story. And when you don't want to, you won't let yourself be coerced into playing this game, to being a part of their delusions of grandeur, then you're every name but a child of God. Every name but a child of God. I have a woman still to this day that I just got through telling you guys about, that will not leave me the hell alone. And she comes from all sides, stalking my social media, trying to get me banned for, you know what I mean? She has a vendetta because why? She was rejected. Because she sees that when they see that you're blessed of the most high God, they can't do anything. Oh, I want that, right? Because a lot of times when you're dealing with when you're dealing with cluster B personalities, you're dealing with a child that didn't get something that as a kid, or that believed, whether they already showed signs of having a character disturbance at the beginning or not. The bottom line is, I deserve what you got, and you don't deserve it. You're black, you're female, right? You're fat. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. And I'll tell you this, it's not about being, for me, it's not about being black. I walk outside with my hair undone. Sometimes I wrap it, sometimes it's brushed, sometimes it's not. I'm just happy I'm outside. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. You know? because I'm not there for you. I learned on the streets. It whether I'm you got they were still making fun of me. They were still making demands of me to produce while I was homeless and on the streets. They were still so I realized it doesn't matter what I look like. I'm going to try and dress up when I need to. You bet. But right now being around bottom feeders, being around parasitic spirits, there's nothing because every time I've had people steal $4,000 worth out of my storage and look me dead in my eyes and say, well, at least you got your insurance. But I don't have the stuff that is symbolic. I was saving up. These are things that I bought to start a business, get me multiple streams of income so that I didn't have to be a security guard and work those graveyards, and work all that overtime. And I see even when I was working overtime and I had uh, Mexican guys people call me lazy, literally call me lazy, you know? And just to watch and would sit there and look at my face all wide-eyed, grimacing like some evil character out of a fucking children's book, you know? Calling me lazy. So you got people who and it's like the Truman Show um on meth. It's like the Truman Show, but there's my rant there because it's really important, Phoenixes, that you guys understand who's out here. My gosh, like it's sometimes that's the reason why I do batch episodes or record in batches. It is because it still disturbs my soul that there are people out here like this. And that there are people more than anything that don't know this stuff. You don't know this and you don't you got people doing witchcraft on your body to try and cause a sickness and disease because you rejected them or they feel that you'll reject them if you're mobile. As I shared with the roommate, she made sure that I was let go. I wasn't even fired. It was the weirdest case, but go back to episode what is it, 21 or 22 where I talk about that, okay? So, moving on, red flags to trust early. Red flags to trust early. Your body says no. Nausea, throat tightens, dread before your brain can explain it. They rewrite reality. And I just said that we're together, you owe me, et cetera, right? Proximity, because 9 times out of 10, they're stalking you, and they may have, said something to somebody, and you got something that you never thought that you would get, or maybe they helped you, walk across the street, but you didn't, you know what I mean? You weren't thinking too much of it, and now it's like, okay, well, I did that because it was a transaction. It's time for you to pay. You see what I'm saying? Boundary testing escalates when you disengage, right? Like with the roommate, she has been following me still and has followed me for years when I was actually in the same state as her, right? You feel surveilled digitally, spiritually, or face to face. They already have a partner and still pursue you. Okay, I have had that stuff happen way too many times where you're still pursuing me, but you have a partner. And not only that, I'm a lesbian and I'm out, right? But and here's the thing that you'll find happening when you reject somebody, all of a sudden you may feel isolated. And that's because they still have that aura on you. They still have that attachment as if you belong to somebody and you don't. We're not going for that, you know what I mean? So I have to keep rebuking in the name of Jesus and doing mantras and stuff, and that's what wears people out because it's a never-ending battle with these guys. Because this is what they do. They're bored anyway. This is what they do. They don't have a life. They don't have a life that's really worth anything, okay? So, what to do for the practical and spiritual parts? Name it. This isn't once you name something, when you're casting out demons, when an exorcist is casting out demons, you say, "Name, what is your name, demon?" And they don't want to give you your name and their name. And here's what I found with with demon possessed people, or disembodied fragmented human spirits, is that they don't want to tell their name. They don't want to give you their name. They do not want to give you their name. And because why? Because when you call out that name, you're calling that energy to be arrested. You're calling that energy to be arrested. This is an induced relationship and I do not consent. Say, demon of lust, this succubi named Darren or Jamal. I do not. This is an induced relationship, and I do not consent. Right? And they have to abide by it. They're going to come back, but for that moment, they have to abide by it. I usually put dates on it, like your entire existence, throughout all timelines, realms, and dimensions. Your sicknesses and diseases that you have attached to me, I purge from me on a cosmic DNA level and send them back to that energy signature, amplified 888 gazillion times, so that it manifests within their lives and in the lives of their allies and in their bloodlines until the end of their existence, from generation to generation. You don't I'm gonna be It's gonna cost them to mess with you. You have to make it cost, right? But if you don't know their name, say the demon. If you don't know the human's name, say the demon that they're mimicking, or has control or possession. Demon, you succubi, you leviathan, you demon of lust, you succubus, you succubuses, you incubuses, you python, as Azazel, Asmodeus, say it out. So yeah, I mean, and it's all this is quiet. Make sure that you're protecting yourself, because a lot of times, if these guys know what you're doing, they're gonna come after you, and they're gonna be even more pissed because how dare you? How dare you try and block me, right? And that's when that narcissistic wound, that cluster B wound starts going. And and some of them can get very violent, and we've seen that online, you know, like with the drug dealer in Philadelphia who was stalking that girl. He had been stalking her for a minute and didn't care. He was just empty, just a cold look on his face. So, okay. So report early to whoever you need to report to, or just I always use email and text messaging. Those have helped me win court cases recently. Okay. Because even if you do audio recorder, you can transcribe it. If you you don't have to just transcribe it, you know. And if they want to, you can highlight what's you and what's the other person, right? But just just take the audio and get it transcribed. It's like, look, this is the audio that I took, but here's the transcription. Okay, reduce access, change routes, tighten socials, block, lockdown, let trusted people know, right? No solo confrontations once escalation starts. Yep, gray rock, brief, boring, gone. You know? Nervous system care, breath work, a cold rinse, grounding, journaling, keep sleep and food steady. So yeah, anytime I know, and that's another reason why you pay attention to your body, because I do fast and I eat one meal a day still. So I'm fasting up until a certain time. Um, but I'm not officially fasting. Right now, I just eat one meal a day because my nervous system is still recalibrating. But when I know, when there's a trigger that's coming up or a flashback that's coming up, an emotional resurrection of some sort, putting the pieces together, or I'm being spiritually, psychically attacked, that's when I'll stop eating. And I noticed that, where I didn't feel like eating anything, you know? Because a lot of times, there some people's spirits will make you so sick that you can't eat. you know, just to make you so sick that you can't eat. So, da, da, da. Rinse, journaling, cold rinse. I do breath work. I do not all the time, but I do it when I do it, especially when I need it. Especially again when I've had triggers or whatever. I will breathe very stop. I'll breathe very deeply. Say tell myself, hey, you're doing good. I'm proud of you. All right. Spiritual hygiene. If it's your lane, prayer, fasting, cleansing, cord cutting, calling on your guides, revocations. Your words carry weight. So this is what it means that your words do not return to you void. It's part of what it means. But there are words of power and of sound that when you sing like a Vedic mantra, when you sing it, it sets out to do what it's designed to do. So when people attack your finances, you need to say a Lakshmi mantra, right? You need to say a Narayana, a Lakshmi mantra combined, all right? And for 30 days, or more. If they're messing with your mind, say a Saraswati mantra, right? So there's stuff out there, and I'm getting to it. I'm gonna start putting them up there, but just ask. Let me know. Community therapists, DV advocates, survivor groups. You're not paranoid. You're perceptive. Period. Stop calling yourself what they call you, just to shut you up and shut you down. Especially when you know that there's proof. Just doesn't people don't have to believe you. Those certain people don't have to believe you. I had when I the only people that have to believe you are people like the judge, people like the caseworker. You know what I'm saying? People like the police. I mean, you know what I mean? So you gotta be on your best. All right. Truth that needs saying. Domestic violence isn't confined to romance. It's domination, hunting for a host. If someone insists you play a part you never auditioned for, you're allowed to exit the stage. And I mean fast. Okay? Quietly, but fast. For the phoenixes listening, your safety is sacred. Your no is complete. Your light doesn't owe rent to anyone's darkness. All right, peeps. Thank you for riding with Phoenix's Rising Academy. This is Coach T. And let's get to a goal of 1,000 subscribers by the year's end. If we make it, I'll pick 5 listeners, subscribers for a free one-on-one empathic listening session. So subscribe, share, and visit www.phoenixesrisingacademy.com or find me in Sharewell under Coach T. From the ashes we rise, from the soul we lead. I love you.